Hello class, today we are going to cover the supply chain and SMEs. In this chapter we are going to look at the concept of supply chain management and the drivers of supply chain management, and also the characteristics of SMEs in these chains and the roles that the SMEs play in supply chain, and also the government policies on SME. Note that at the end of this chapter, you should be able to relate the supply chain management to SMEs. Should be able to relate that. So we are going to start with the concept of supply chain management. And this will involve, when it comes to management, this will involve controlling, planning, designing, implementing the business processes that are concerned with the procurement, manufacturing, distribution, and sales to meet the business functions. That is all about the managing supply chains, and this mainly will involve the logistics that build the supply chains. So let us look at the drivers. What drives the management of supply chain? You realize that the drivers will include the decisions that will be made in the various departments that we'll talk about. Decisions will be made that will bring efficiency in the supply chain. For instance, number one is a production. So what are the decisions that we make around production to bring efficiency in the supply chain? So the decisions that we can make in this is to ensure that there is optimum capacity in the factories and manufacturing plants, optimum capacity to produce the diverse products that are needed in the market. Alternatively, we can make sure that all the products in smaller factories that are required are being produced and delivered in time to ensure continued supply, and also to attain better economies of scale. We need to concentrate on a large production at a central factories, acknowledging that delivery times may be slightly longer in exchange for output advantages. We also need to look at the decisions we make around inventory. What are the decisions we make around inventory? And here means that we must have the right amount of stock as per the demand in the market, and we should also be able to avail goods, the products in the right locations so that they are easily accessed by the end user, and also the location. Where are the factories located? Can the consumers be able to get goods as required, or can they be distributed enough in good time so that it can reach the end user right? And if we are selling online, can we be able to deliver the ordered goods in good time? Also, when it comes to transport, do we have the enough vehicles that are required to transport the goods? And if they are ordered, can we deliver in a few hours, in less time, so that it can be efficient in distribution? Also, when we talk of data, are we able to collect the right data from the end user, from the consumers, that will enable us to produce goods as required? That is, we should be able to correct the right information, and this goes especially to the wholesalers and retailers as they can interact directly with the end user so that we can be able to produce the right goods. We also have the technological developments and information flow. As we pass information from buyers to the suppliers, we should not distort the information collected as it is used in the production, so that we don't end up overproducing or underproducing, or having excess inventory or inadequate inventory. So there should be a flow of information that is correct. So the technology should be well integrated with the supply chain, and also enabling a flow of information, of material and finances to improve efficiency and effectiveness. Also, innovation is another driver, as we should be able to come up with different ways of solving a problem, of producing to satisfy the desires of the client. So we should be able to to think creatively and innovatively to solve a problem. Also, the decisions made around partnership and collaborations, we should be able to partner and collaborate so that we can integrate key processes of supply chain, and also in a work between the buyers and the suppliers. We also have the driver environmental challenges calling for new ways of doing business. So we should have new ways of doing and restructuring the farm so that we can deliver value. So what are the characteristics of SMEs in a supply chain? So what are the characteristics? So you note that most SMEs are mainly wholesalers and retailers. They are mostly wholesalers and retailers, and most of them are not able to compete in manufacturing. So they provide mostly the transportation of raw materials or the distribution of finished products, and also they offer the services for repair and maintenance. They also supply knowledge to the large corporations on managing specific markets effectively, because they interact directly with the final user. So as the large corporations have capabilities, the technical capabilities and production capabilities, the SMEs supply them with knowledge on the market effectively, because they are interacting directly with the end user. You also note that especially in Kenya, most SMEs are with the disadvantaged groups, because we have had regulations that account for a large portion of the supply side of government procurements, particularly for less specialized commodities. So what is the role of SMEs in the supply chain? You note that the role of SMEs mostly will be creating jobs and increasing the income in households, also providing goods and services and driving competition and innovation. We also have the provide new business strategies, products and services are introduced in the market, and also improves the corporate culture. It also stimulates development and growth, particularly in rural areas, adding to the process of acclimating to huge organizations by establishing products and service links. They also provide a dynamic connections between the small scale and the profitable metropolitan, national and international markets. They enhance the enterprise culture and also complement the process of adjustment to large enterprises. They also form dynamic linkages between the small-scale producers and the export market. But we also have policies from the government on these SMEs, which pose as a challenge because they have several challenges like minimal access to finance and credit facilities. We also have the low business skills development and the low capacity in the market development. These are the challenges that have been pointed out. Also, the weak business regulatory framework, the weak infrastructural development, the low capacity in market development, and limited access to finance and credit facilities. These are mostly the challenges that you find with SMEs, but also there are policies that affect the growth, like the regulation reform, how entry regulation, how they can start businesses, the ongoing regulation, for example, for labor laws and taxes, and also the access to finance, the credit infrastructure, the credit guarantees, matching grants, business skills and practices, workshop training, and also consulting. And also we have barriers that the SMEs have been barred from participating in a public procurement because of the following reasons: that most SMEs lack access to information regarding the opportunities available in the public procurement. Some SMEs also do not meet the criteria for qualification, and they do not have sufficient time to respond to tenders. They also lack the adequate skills for preparing bids. And also the cost of tendering at times is expensive, and the documentation requirements is quite excessive. Some of these paperwork is time consuming, and also sometimes the SMEs may lack the adequate knowledge for the formal tendering process and the inadequate capacity to challenge tender results. So some of them do not challenge when they are not awarded the tenders. We also have the weak regulatory framework, including the weak procurement regulations. So those are some of the factors barring SMEs from participating in a public procurement. I would also like us to look at the supply chain management strategy. So what is the strategy employed by SMEs? So we look at what is that concept and the levels and the relationship between the strategies and the other levels of strategy other than the supply chain management strategies, and the value chain management in SMEs, and the formulation and implementation of supply chain management strategy. Note that at the end of this class, you should also be able to evaluate supply chain management strategies in SMEs. So what is this concept about this strategy? First of all, we know a strategy is a plan of action taken to achieve a set objectives, or a direction of the business will take to achieve the desired end. So when we talk about strategic management, we are talking of the process of planning, evaluating, implementing, designing to improve the competitive advantage of a business. So to improve the competitive advantage, and this supply chain strategy is this a set of policies that we make to help optimize end-to-end supply chain processes and capabilities to meet the demand and supply, and also gain competitive advantage. So let's talk about the components of a strategy. It will have the scope, the goals, objectives, the resource deployment, a synergy, and also identification of sustainable competitive advantage. And it is characterized by complexity. It is both content and a process. It is concerned with the organization and the environment, and it involves a different thought process. It also exists on different levels. So what are the tools used in formulating a strategy? We need technology and e-commerce support, the inventory management, distribution channel management, quality service management for the customer, human resource management, but it also has benefits because it reduces cost, improves the customer service, supports the goal, it helps understand historical data, and also adapt to changing demand. It helps to adapt also to changes in internal product design. So let's talk about the levels of strategy in SMEs. Mostly we'll talk about the corporate, business, and a functional level. So there are 3 levels in SMEs, and when we talk about the corporate level strategy, this is the highest level because it involves the management of the business. They consider how to gain a competitive advantage in every line of business. So they formulate the the corporate provides the direction on the mission of the business, the kinds of businesses, and its growth policies. So the policies that need to be incorporated in this business, and also managing different businesses and deciding which business to withdraw from and compete with. So it is about forming of policies. So usually the management will make policies, and then they delegate. When we talk about the business level strategy, this will answer a question of how we gain a competitive advantage over competitors. This is formulated by specific business units, and it helps to define the competitive position of a strategic business unit. And it focuses on cost leadership, focus, and differentiation. Then we have the functional level strategy. This one now integrates the business level with the functional departments. So you go to specific departments It helps to improve company operations within departments, and this strategy also align with business strategy to achieve with the available resources. So we use the value chain model with the 4Rs: responsibleness, reliability, resilience, relationships. So let's look at how does this strategy now relate with these strategies of supply chain management. How do they relate with other levels of strategies, other levels of strategy in SMEs? As we note that these supply chain management strategies, they should align with the overall organizational strategies. As we adopt the overall focus to ensure that the customer can access the right product at the right time, in the right quality and quantities at the right location. So it should strive to minimize, we should minimize the cost of production and the movement of products across the supply chain. So the company should be able to design a product for a broad audience or a particular market segment. That is the relationship. The value chain management. The value chain is the activities in a business setup that facilitate the delivery of a product to the market. So every stage should add value to the end customer. So what matters is the value added to the end customers. As we evaluate the value chain analysis, we have the primary activities and the support activities that add value to the end user. The primary activities, they relate to the creation and delivery of products. So that is creation and delivery. And the support activities, now these support the primary activities, as you can see illustrated in that diagram. And when we talk about the simple value chain, this is all the activities from generation to production to delivery to customers and disposal after use. But in every activity, in every process, there are more activities undertaken. There are more activities like supply of materials. Those other activities that are taken in every process is what is referred to as the extended value chain. So how do we formulate and implement these strategies of supply chain management? We start with the formulation. Formulation is this process of selecting the actions for the achievement of the goals and objectives. And in order to achieve this objective of formulating the strategy, we must set the goals and objectives. We must analyze the business environment. We must set the target, identify contribution by division, analyze performance, and choose a strategy. And then after looking into those areas and formulating the strategy we need to implement it. And when implementation now will follow, if only there was a successful formulation. So when we are implementing, usually we are going to monitor and control at every step of the process as we transform big problems into small manageable tasks. And the stages we will include the pre-implementation, the organizing, the effort, managing, and then maximizing performance. So where do we apply these strategies? We adopt demand planning, demand-driven planning. As with today's technology, we can match the supply to the expected demand. We can also build an agile supply chain, so we can react to the different demands and the changes in the market. We can also optimize product design and management, so we can design a product and conduct a supply chain management planning concurrently. We can also align supply chain goals with business goals, because these supply chain goals then should reflect the overall goals of the organization, as we are able to integrate sales and operation to create planning capability that reflects changing market conditions. We can also embrace sustainability into the supply chain, because this sustainability takes different forms, including the social and environment. So the SMEs can embrace a concept that could have been reserved for large corporations. Can also adopt the emerging technologies, because they help reduce inventory requirements, creating a more reliable supply chain and network. And the SMEs are adopting the learning AI technologies to streamline supply chain and speed up reaction time. So that's all for today's class. If you have any question, you can write in the comments section. It will be followed up.